Well, Negar Mortazavi has more analysis for us now on this story. She is a journalist and consultant editor for the independent newspaper in Britain, which I gather is now a website, mainly. Is that right?
Is.
Yeah. What kind of deals are these two doing? I gather that President Rouhani has talked about enhancing trade deals involving gas and electricity, for example.
Exactly. There's a lot of focus on the energy sector with the proximity of the two countries having a vast borderline. And also there's all kinds of other trade, especially on the border areas that's happening between Iran and Iraq. So far, the Iranians are saying the total amount of trade between the two countries is around $12 billion, and they're hoping to almost double that to $20 billion. So it seems like there's a lot of focus on this type of trade between this close neighbor and also strategic, political, and economic ally that Iran is forging.
But it's sanctions busting, isn't it? There are sanctions imposed on Tehran, as you know, from the United Nations side, the US side. Iraq is a strong US ally, and yet it's gone ahead and signed these deals with Iran, which the US, of course, is at odds with. So where does that take us?
Well, we can call part of it sanctions busting, but because the United States is alone in these round of sanctions, the European Union is not behind. The UN Security Council, everything has been lifted after the nuclear deal. And so far in these new round of sanctions, the US has been unilaterally imposing them on Iran. So part of what the Iraqis are doing are also in line with what the European Union and major European powers are trying to do as far as helping Iran. And in fact, Iranians have been disappointed at the kind of economic benefit that they were promised and they were hoping to get from the Europeans. So it seems like they're turning more towards their Asian partners, and specifically Iraq as their closest neighbor and one of their allies in the region.
Okay, so just to be clear, the UN sanctions have been lifted, but the US is imposing sanctions unilaterally.
Exactly.
So which side is Iraq on, do you think? It is a very close US ally. Of course, it has to be given everything that's happened. But is it on Washington's side or Tehran's side?
I would say on none or on both sides. The Iraqis are trying to hold the middle ground. We see even in the diplomatic traffic into Iraq, when the Iranian foreign minister goes, the U.S. Secretary of State also pays a visit, the Iranian different diplomats from the foreign ministry, even the president, and now the prime minister of Iraq. So it seems like the Iraqis, the type of strategic and military relationship they have with the United States, that is still going to continue. But then at the same time, they're Iran's closest neighbor. They have such a vast borderline. There's a lot of cultural, religious ties. So that can't be overlooked either by the country as well.
And yet there are two other things worthy of a mention here. One is that the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is calling for Iraq to kick out the remaining US troops. Now, what does that tell you?
I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon. Like the military relationship that's been going on between the U.S. and the new Iraqi government is not something that's going to die out soon with the orders of the Iranian supreme leader. Of course, there's a political message in that when the Iranian supreme leader talks about that. And then also, let's not forget about the strategic partnership between Iran and Iraq against ISIS. And this is not just in Syria, but also there's a spillover into Iraq as well.
Well, you raise a good point. I mean, presumably both have an interest in a peaceful post-ISIL Syria, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. The Revolutionary Guard is in the news this weekend as well, because it is reported that America, Washington, is calling for the Revolutionary Guard, this elite unit in Tehran and elsewhere in the country, to be designated a terrorist organization. What effect might that have?
Well, as far as economically or the actual laws of sanctions, there have been multiple designations by the United States before, so this is not going to have a major legal impact. But there's a specific political message that Washington is sending, and also this is probably going to backfire as far as U.S. troops go in the region. And we even hear that from the Trump administration that there's going to be alerts sent to American troops in the region to expect some kind of backlash from Iranian troops. And we've already heard Iranian politicians talking about them then wanting to treat U.S. troops and service members like terrorist organizations in the region. So it is probably going to have some kind of escalation militarily in the region.
All right, we'll leave it there. Negar Mortazavi from the Independent
Thank you.
website. Thank you very much. Appreciate your analysis. Thank you.